or certainly don't just put things because they seem important. Put things because they seem important because a user would need to go to your website to find them, and that's the likely first place they would go.
You are now listening to the Creative Juice podcast brought to you by Entrepreneur.io.
What's up, indies? Welcome back to Creative Juice. This is the podcast where we cover growing and monetizing a fan base and building a music career with marketing strategies that are working right now based on what we see every single day inside our music marketing agency and across our community of thousands of artists and bands. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. This is episode 392, and I'm your host, Jack McCarthy. And with me today to talk about websites, your website, and how to make it better is Circa. Cirque, what's up, dude?
What's up, Jack? Super excited to talk about some sites today.
I'm excited too, man. I remember when you and I first met and I got signed into the Indepreneur world for the very first time. I looked at your bio and it just said, I'm Circa, I build websites, or something to that degree.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And so today, if you're an artist that has a website, and I hope you do, or if you don't and you're thinking about building one, or if you have one and you're trying to figure out how to make it better and maybe remove some blind spots, we're going to talk about little mistakes that we see kind of as normal suspects, usual suspects on artist websites, and how you can avoid them. And I think this is going to be a helpful little lightning round tactical episode. And I'm psyched to dive into it because we see and look at tons of artist websites pretty much all day, every day over here.
We actually haven't had a given a position statement on website infra in general in a while.
It's true. Maybe we start there.
Yeah.
Your website is home base. I want to just lay it out with that.
Does that do anything for you?
Yeah. It's home base, man.
Does that clear it up? You got to go tag it, you know?
A lot of people ask me like, well, what is my website even for? Do I even need this? Can I just replace it with a link in bio?
I mean, you can.
You can, sure. Maybe your link in bio is just your website.
For some people, that's the correct approach.
Yeah, 100%. But your website is like the central place where fans are going to go anytime they go beyond your social media. Most likely the next step that they're going to take to find something about you is going to be your website, if they're like linking from anywhere that's immediately associated with you. So there's my position statement.
Yeah. Because we could just capture the change, right? Like, what's different? What would I say that's different about what I've always said about websites? And after having built a bespoke, like I coded a website for the first time in my life. I didn't use a drag and drop builder. I wrote a website in code. And from that, I learned some things, and I learned kind of like, you know, there's no like great solutions right now for artists. Like artists needs what they need from a website. If you go full all in one, like our CRM, it is a little bit overkill. And like, there's no one for whom that's not going to be, you got to, you know, pick and choose what you do, because otherwise it'd be too confusing. You got to kind of have a narrow slice through this all-in-one tool to build. I need my website. I need my store. I need some landing pages. I need an easy way to build them. Right. You got to cut out a lot of bloat. And then there's other tools like a Squarespace or a Bandzoogle that are sort of like woefully under-equipped in a few key areas. And they provide everything that you need in a few other areas, or they handicap you in some weird way. And these tools are varying degrees of appropriate for different types of people, but there's no like great solutions here insofar as you're not going to learn how to write websites, right? So you got to pick your poison when it comes to building a website as an artist. And we think oftentimes the best like sort of like thing that covers all your needs while admittedly being kind of shitty and not everything you need has been like things like Shopify or a funnel builder, because it gives you the online store / cart / like offer products functionality that really is like the key jump you're going to make is like, oh, I could probably get by with a link in bio until I need to offer products. And then I got a whole different set of challenges.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a helpful primer on website tech for sure, because I wasn't even really going to get super into that.
Well, we don't have to.
But I think that's helpful because a lot of people, I think a lot of artists, when they start thinking about websites, building a website, wondering if the website they currently have is sufficient, they wonder, well, maybe if I just built it on something else, would it solve all my problems?
Yeah, that does happen a lot. Yeah, and I mean, probably not. You
No.
still have problems. There are some problems you cannot solve with a simple platform change, and simple is a misnomer here. So yeah, it's there's no, there's nothing that really leaves you. There is no perfect camera, as we used to say in the camera nerd arena. There is no perfect website solution for artists specifically. For businesses, that picture kind of changes a little bit, traditional businesses, because I would say there are some like very clearly better candidates, even though they're not perfect. But for artists, there really is no perfect website solution unless you learn to code, in which case there is.
Now that we've gotten that huge position statement out of the way, I want to chunk up like the 3 mistakes that I see on artist websites all the time. And I've even reviewed some artist websites on our YouTube channel. I'll link to one of those in the show notes just so that you guys can check them out. I did one. Jesse's done one. I think Circa's done a few in our Who Did This series that we used to do
Right.
a few years
What a
ago.
great
Those are
series.
very fun. Yeah. So we'll link to some of those in the show notes. But I think there are 3 like common mistakes that I want to chunk up to that I often see in artist websites. And hopefully this will help you guys avoid them. And these go from like conceptual to tactical. So I'm going to work in like reverse order here. The first one is just generally, and this takes many forms, is like a wrong focus on how to apply the real estate of your website. And here's what I mean by that. You're putting the wrong things on your website in the wrong places. Put very simply, let me break it down like this. When someone lands on your website for the first time, the first section that they can see before they have to scroll is what we typically in marketing refer to as the above the fold section. And many artists use this prime piece of real estate for like photos and logos and maybe like a big out now banner. And here's what I mean by incorrect allocation of the real estate is like that real estate where someone lands and they don't have to do anything else but perceive what you have going on. That's such an important part of your website to get fans to do the next thing that you want them to do. That might be to go buy tickets for your tour. It might be, and most likely is, go to buy merch. It might be to sign up for something you have going on right now for free. Maybe it's your launch, but it most likely is not just a big banner with your face or your logo or your band photos or a big banner that says out now with your streaming link. It's probably not those things, because if someone's landing on your website, they already know that stuff. The real estate that you have on your website is best used for taking people to the next logical place that you want them to go. So that's like big mistake number 1 is misallocation of real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of poor website faux pas boil down to like improperly anticipating user intent or not even considering it in the first place. And then improperly understanding user behavior. Like a key example would be like, again, like Jack said, like if you've got an out now banner on your site, right? We could just take some cursory glances at user intent and user behavior to understand, like, is this a good use of real estate? We can order real estate in terms of its value from the first thing a user sees and notices to the last thing a user sees and notices. Most valuable action, least valuable action. It's a spectrum. And so when the website loads and they see something, that's the most valuable real estate, unquestionably so. It's called above the fold, main hero above the fold, right? And if you put a banner there for out now, what you're essentially saying is, I have new music. And if someone wanted your new music, do you think they would go to your website, right? Is that the first place a user in today's internet goes to find your newest music? No, they go to their streaming platform du jour, right? So no, there's never a time at which you are best serving the user's intent by putting that in the hero of your main page on your website. there is no point at which you are dealing with user behavior best that way, because users' behavior is typically to go to your streaming to find the new songs. You miss an opportunity and you misunderstood user intent. So you can run that filter over everything, the placement of everything on your website, and kind of gauge the appropriateness of like placement of different things. Ultimately, there's a million things people could do on your website, typically, like million little individual actions. We want to direct people to the user flow that is most valuable to you while still aligning with their likely intent or something they'd be interested in doing.
100%. That's a great explanation. It's don't make assumptions about what your fans' intentions and behaviors are going to be when they get to your website.
Or certainly don't just put things because they seem important. Put things because they seem important because a user would need to go to your website to find them, and that's the likely first place they would go, right? That's the kind of like sweet spot. You don't want to just like put every possible thing like in any place on your website and have no consideration for like, should this go here? Is this most important to me? Is it most important to the user? Would the user go here to find this? Okay, great.
Yeah, 100%. And you can think about this to paint it a different way. Think about your social media, right? Where someone might see a post about a piece of content about your new single, and you're hoping that they go stream it. You're most likely telling them somewhere in that post, I would imagine, that it's available on all streaming platforms. You're saying that in some way, whether that's in the video itself, whether it's in the copy, you're letting people know where they can go. They're probably not going to go then to your website after you've told them all the other places they can go. So don't worry about your website being the place that tells them that.
Yeah. Also, I think it's important in general to just recognize how rare an action it is for someone to go to their favorite band's website. It's like not obvious to me at all. That's something I would ever do, much less commonly do. I mean, I've never been to like Rage Against the Machine's website, dude. I've never been to Smino's website. Like, I don't know what it looks like. So like, since it's exceedingly rare and it kind of like calls for a consideration of that rarity. It's like, whoa, you made it here. Let's do something special. Let's not do something mundane and everyday pedestrian.
You made it here. The real estate is juicy. I'm going to take advantage of it. And
let me reward you for being an explorer of my brand, right? Yeah.
Or even if someone doesn't wander to your website, right? If they were driven there by something you were asking them to do, naturally you want to align the thing that you were asking the fan to do with what they first see or secondarily see, or, you know, whatever order you're going to place it in.
And what they don't see.
Yeah. I want to talk about the don't sees. This is like the next chunking up. This one may not come as a surprise if you've been a longtime listener of this show, but maybe it will be. I don't know. But transitioning from like the real estate problem is opt-in problems. And this is just another next step piece of where you're trying to take fans when they land on your websites. You want to give something give fans something to do next. And many times, you know, you might have a store and you're showcasing some products on your website, and that's great, and you should. But many times, fans who might be going to your website might not be ready to buy something. They might not be driven to take out their wallet and pay you for something. Or maybe you don't have merch that you're launching right now. But you want to be able to take some kind of next step with them. And a lot of times that is offering them something for free in exchange for their contact details. So there's no opt-in. That is a mistake that I see so often on websites. When I was reviewing websites of like the Hot 100 Billboard artists a couple years ago, it was almost criminal how often I didn't find opt-in of any kind for text or email on websites. And when I did, it was really often buried at the very bottom of the website in the footer, one little line for an email address or a phone number with no real compelling reason for fans to want to even do it. It was just like, get updates. And we talk about this a lot here, but I think it's worth repeating when it comes to obvious mistakes that are out there when it comes to websites that you really want to avoid.
Yeah, For sure. It's one of those things. We did an episode a while back about like, your song is only old to you. It's like maybe this trope is only old to us, but like, hey man, first of all, have an opt-in, let people give you their email address. 2, make it seem at least a little enticing.
Yeah.
Like, don't say get updates.
Well, it's interesting because for as often as it feels like I'm repeating myself when it comes to this mistake across all kinds of marketing for artists, even when we're not talking about websites, right? I sometimes feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but then I go on websites for artists and I still don't see it. And so it's like, okay, I probably need to keep repeating this. This needs to be reminded very often. I think it's super important.
Does make sense.
The last one is, and this is tactical and nerdy and something you absolutely should be doing, is you want to make sure that you have your data tracking layer installed on your website. And Cirque, maybe you can get a little nerdy on like the code side of things if you know things about this now that I don't know.
Well, not really. Like, you can install a bespoke data tracking layer. I don't think any of our indies are going to be doing that anytime soon. So you're going to be using a tool, and you're probably not going to be using the tool for the tool's sake. For example, there's Google Analytics. You can install this on your website, and it will ensure that Google sees all of the visitation data. So when people come to your website and they do things, it will fire off events. But then you have to go and use it to do meaningful things. Like, having it installed is not really that tight, because you then have to go in Google Analytics, learn Google Analytics, and use it to draw helpful inferences. For example, there's features of Google Analytics where you can set up conversions. So you could say, when people land on this landing page, it's a sales page for this product. So I know that they should go from this landing page to this checkout or cart to this thank you page that's unique in this product flow. And I can say that when someone does that, they've did this conversion flow. And then I can measure that against other conversion flows, and I can see which ones are best that convert cleanest of the people who land on landing page A. 50% make it to order confirmation A, but for B, it's only 40%. Okay, well, that's better. It's a better offer, presumably, right? Like, naively, that's a better offer. These are the kinds of inferences you can draw with Google Analytics installed. But this stuff might also be manifested as like you're sending Facebook ads, like clicks, to landing page A or landing page B, and you have a Facebook pixel installed that tells you and automatically optimizes your ads when someone makes it to this or that order confirmation, registering a purchase. So these are 2 different ways you might track essentially the same thing. And it's unclear whether, like, if in the case of Facebook ads, if you're running it, do you want the Google Analytics installed? Are you going to set it up? Is it useful to you? Probably not, because everything that you're thinking about is in Facebook ads. And you're optimizing down to the cost per conversion. You're not looking at conversion flows in Google Analytics and like manually measuring and making decisions about what to do. So it is important to have a tracking layer down just for historical purposes. You can't install your Google tag tomorrow and have it track data today, right? So having it installed at least gives you some backwards like compatibility, some historical data that when you decide it's time, you can go spelunking through that. But I will say this, as a matter of gospel, we used to say Google Analytics super important. Here's how you do it. Here's some rough hand waving about like good practice for setting up dashboards. At the end of the day, I don't see a whole lot of people using Google Analytics that effectively in artist marketing. Not to say that you can't. It's just that Google Analytics is a very serious person tool for CMOs and marketing analytics managers in enterprise companies. They're not typically leveraged very well, this tool set, at the individual or solopreneur level. And so I wouldn't be as much of a stickler today about your tracking layer. I would say if you're running Facebook ads, you need to install the Facebook pixel. You can do that site wide. It's very easy. It's way easier than back when Jack and I started to install the Facebook pixel. And even,
dude, yeah.
Even the current permutations of that conversions API. And installing Google Analytics is pretty straightforward, site-wide, regardless of what technology you're on. the docs, like if you're on Bandzoogle, you go to their documentation, you search Google Analytics or Facebook Pixel, they'll tell you exactly how to do it.
For sure.
Squarespace, same story. WordPress, pretty straightforward, lots of documentation. It's very easy to install, gives you that backwards compatibility, that historical safety. And my only warning is that, like, don't stress it too hard if you don't end up using Google Analytics a whole lot. You may not.
I think that, yeah, I think that's a super helpful caveat to make is I actually wasn't even going to mention Google Analytics, so I'm glad you did, for exactly that reason, that you're probably not going to get super analytical and in the weeds with Google Analytics data, especially right away when you first install it. Like, you're not going to have a whole lot of data to look at in there, but you should have it installed. You should absolutely have the Facebook Pixel installed. I can't believe that I still find websites that don't have that installed. Just for retargeting purposes alone, you need to have it installed.
We used to probably be more sticklers about this for retargeting purposes, right? It's like,
yeah,
when retargeting was much more important than it is today, that would be the first thing I would have said is like, well, you need the Pixel installed so that you can retarget different intentful pages on your site.
Yeah.
That didn't convert.
Yeah. The same applies to the TikTok Pixel. The same applies to Google Tag for Google ads, YouTube ads. You should have that stuff installed.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so, like, one more thing is that, like, eventually, if you're successful in marketing your music career and gaining customers in a direct to customer context, you will eventually, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Taylor Bradshaw is like a textbook indie of the last 3 years. He came in, he ran free push shipping and handling funnel, immediately started creating thousands of customers, very successful funnel builder. And for him, once he gets into that success and he's like, okay, the wave of success is over. I know how to ship and fulfill stuff. I've dealt with the initial craziness of all this. Now, how do I make it better? One of the things he's looking to do is optimize. And so for him, it makes sense to, like, have Google Analytics installed so that he can look at the conversion rate of one version of a sales page over another. He's sending tons of traffic and he can do those kinds of experiments, and it means money to him. But that's not the common or even the majority case. So it's like better to hold off until the need presents itself in terms of actually doing anything with the data.
Yeah. Those are the 3 most common mistakes chunked up that I see with artist websites today. And honestly, they haven't changed a whole lot. They're pretty consistent here. So I wanted to bring them to the show today to give them to you guys, whether you're getting started with your website for the very first time, whether you're thinking about revamping it, or whether you're looking at yours and being like, is this enough? Am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? These are the steps that you could take to audit. Zoom yourself out and ask about, am I using real estate correctly? Am I giving my fans a next step? And do I have at least the sufficient tracking layers installed so that if I need them later, I can use them? I would ask yourself those 3 things and then go a little bit deeper at each of them, and you'll have a website that's probably better by the end of it.
Yeah. Agreed.
In the words of Circa, go build websites or something.
Something like that.
Something like that. We'll see you guys next time on Creative Juice. Peace out, indies.
Can y'all really feel us? East Coast.